Hey, what's going on everyone? Back with another critical Elliott Wave analysis. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the ultimate bullish scenarios in the case that Bitcoin does move up and break this previous high. Now, this is our second update of the day. Please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, what's very important about these bullish scenarios I'm going to be discussing compared to our last analysis is that we keep only one condition alive, which is to stay above the $58,000 levels. Now, in our previous video, both of our scenarios, regardless, even with the larger pullback, leads us to higher levels. That is the overall general expectation from a top-down analysis. Now, we still haven't invalidated that larger, deeper pullback expectation that we discussed in the previous idea after that possible diagonal, but it is starting to look far less likely of a larger pullback just due to the fact that we have even the minor time frame degrees being distributive in nature. It means that we're not creating any impulsive nature to the downside with any sort of actionary wave being created for a larger wave A. And in this case, we're already starting to lose that momentum even on the micro time frames, already starting to break these previous highs. So what this means is that we have to start really resorting down to the impulsive ideas. We talked about that family tree and how we can be managing our expectations. And this is pretty much the only way we can make a managing expectations, which is to now go back to the impulsive idea. And I think this is now going to be the far higher weighted idea going forward. Now, in fact, I think this idea is starting to become into much more play as each minute passes. Even if we were to correct on any scale, like I said, we could be doing a possible 1-2 flat. That is going to look okay, even in terms of the geometry and symmetry, and also in time perspective wise, in terms of the overall expectation of patterns for a wave 1-2 of a minor degree. We're just looking for it to happen much sooner than later of that possible pullback ideas. Now, I did hint the idea already that in order to maintain this impulsive idea, we need to be making sure these pullbacks are shallow as possible. And I also mentioned that in the previous video where the impulsive idea was actually becoming my primary idea, and I'm going to discuss this in the video. Now, starting off with our first idea here is that we're working in a very, very bullish idea. Now, it gets quite tricky here, and I have three scenarios that I believe could be playing out as long as we stay above that $58,000 levels. Now, as we are creating a distributive range here, let's say that Bitcoin does actually move up and we're still moving up correctively. Now, it could be tricky, but if we're able to identify the different hierarchy of waves, this could just be in a primary wave 3 extension where we're now utilizing these 3 wave moves as possible, a 1-2 pullback here, and then this could be a 3-way move going into the first wave 1 of the diagonal. We could be doing a 3-way move into a wave 2 here, 3-wave, 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 and that could be creating a diagonal. And if you're still expecting shorter term pullbacks, this also fulfills and satisfies that need as well, where we have another minor degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go up for completing that wave 3. And that is the extension of this degree. And then that is also part of a larger extended wave 3. So that's why it gets a lot trickier when you're nesting these 1-2s and creating all these series of 3, 4, 5s. That's why we need to be on our tail here, be very careful. We don't want to be assuming the extremely bullish idea, but it can absolutely come into play, especially with the sentiment now starting to ramp up, especially with the elections. A lot of people on X and social media are also becoming increasingly bullish. So we have to go with what the general market is also anticipating. And that's why we don't want to be trading against the market, but rather trending with the markets as best as we can. So this is why this idea also exists. So this is the first very impulsive idea, a little bit hard to kind of predict, but it is starting to come into play much more than we did previously anticipated. So the second idea is that this is where we have that anticipated pullback. We don't go as deep as we wanted to, because in the previous idea, like I said, we were expecting a far deeper pullback, possibly coming down or retesting the 56 to the 62K levels. But in this case, what if we just come down and retest $63,000 levels? Absolutely fine, because if we're saying that this is a wave 1 termination point here, and we're still utilizing 3 waves in between, then this is going to be turning into a possible ABC. And this could be the flat idea of a wave 1-2. And we could still retest a major Fibonacci level using this pivot point to this pivot point, which is still utilizing that idea of 3 wave structures for this flat idea. Come into that B expanded pocket zone where we do create a new local high here against this high. And then we can go for another pullback. And that will be the real shorting opportunity for a very short time. And then this can be the ultimate buy opportunity for one last round. And then we're off to the races, ultimately breaking these all-time high levels that we achieved previously in the previous year. So with that being said, this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to be creating this extension of this degree here, 3, 4, 5, and that'll be a very extensive bullish wave 3 being created all together, and that in itself is going to be the same. All we're doing is just focusing on this right here. This minor degree on the larger macro scale is going to be the key point here, and how we're going to be saving this 1-2, especially above this 58K levels. So as long as we stay above the 58K levels, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, is gonna be any valid point for a wave 1-2 being created. Now, our last idea, let's put this back into this, and then let's talk about the last idea, which is the ultimate bullish scenario again, where we do also have another 1-2 pullback coming back into the same Fibonacci territory over here. So if we're looking for this 1-2 and 3 wave being created as well, this could just ultimately be another wave 1 going into another diagonal. We have a possible diagonal being created here, ladies and gentlemen. As long as we're able to identify a diagonal, it is absolutely in play. Now, I think a lot of people are going to say that this is quite subjective in nature, where this wave 1 is longer than this wave 3, but if you look back into the new rules and guidelines, ladies and gentlemen, we are absolutely in a possible diagonal here if we're able to apply the new rules and guidelines, where wave 1 doesn't have any relationship to the other waves, where wave 1 is usually typically shorter than wave 3. Now, as long as wave 5 is going to be shorter than this wave 3, which is absolutely going to be looking like the case here, especially with this trend line intact, this could be leading us into that diagonal now for that wave 1, get that pullback, and then we can be looking for a 3, 4, 5 to the upside. So if we're going to be combining all of these scenarios, look at it, ladies and gentlemen, everything leads to the upside. All you're doing is just trying to fight against what's happening of a larger narrative if you're really going back and forth in the minor degrees. This is why you need to be sticking to the general trend. The overall idea, even with these diagonal ideas, is just dependent on how deep of a pullback you should be looking at. It's not about how far it can go. It's about understanding how deep of these pullbacks are, and if you're able to identify the 3s and 5s correctly. So that's how we're going to be looking at it, ladies and gentlemen. These 3 impulsive ideas that I just shared, is absolutely possible that we go up no matter what, as long as we're saved by this 61.8 Fibonacci level, most importantly, above this $58,000 level. That is going to be keeping us at bay for any 1-2 idea going forward, as long as it stays above those levels. So again, to really quickly recap, if you really want to understand the larger pullback scenarios that I discussed in the previous videos, now they aren't entirely invalidated. I did discuss that we could still be working in the grassroots of a 1-2 idea, where this could be a 1 and 2, and this could be a WXY or ABC, because ABC flat. But the correction depth that I also explained, where we are even going to go down even to the normal 38.2% or the 50% level or the 61.8%, which is very unlikely at this point. We'll have to see. I mean, I can be completely wrong, but I don't think that this is going to be the case anymore for this diagonal idea. I think we just have to manage our expectations, like I've said. And if we're going to be looking at them, I guess I removed it. The managed expectation is that we do have breakage of these previous minor degrees, and that really changes the whole dynamic of how we're trading these shorter time frames. So as you can see, we have far many more scenarios being played on the minor time frames that lead us to higher levels, against a lot of scenarios where we have to assume a larger pullback, and I don't know if that's going to be happening. And right now, it just seems like we're going to be working with the impulsive idea going forward. We'll have to see. But I can always just flip-flop back and forth if I see any red flags, but right now, just seems like price just want to move up as long as we are still above these levels. Thank you very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. If this is our second video of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see more video updates, even on a faster basis, please make sure to like, subscribe, shows interest for me and also for you guys, and create that more anticipated, very shorter time frame ideas as well. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye-bye.